Right now, there is a belief that has quietly controlled millions of minds for years that sickness is stronger than us, that it comes without limits, and that no one can escape its grip. But what if that belief is not entirely true? What if the power we have given to sickness is far greater than the power it actually holds? There is a hidden perspective that most people never stop to question, a truth that has been overlooked, ignored, or simply misunderstood. And once this truth becomes clear, it begins to change the way everything is seen, the body, the mind, and even the idea of health itself. Because the reality is, not everyone experiences sickness the same way. Some people seem to face it differently, recover faster, or even stand strong when others break. This is not just coincidence, and it is not luck. There is a deeper reason behind it, something that connects belief, mindset, and inner state in a powerful way that science is only beginning to understand. There is growing evidence showing that the human body does not simply react to the outside world, but also responds to what is happening inside. Stress, fear, and constant worry can weaken the body over time, making it more vulnerable. On the other side, calmness, trust, and a stable inner state can support the body in ways that many people underestimate. This is where things start to become interesting, because the people often described as righteous, those who live with strong faith, discipline, and inner clarity, tend to carry a different mental and emotional state, and that state changes how they respond to challenges, including sickness. This does not mean they live in a perfect world or that problems never appear, but it does suggest that sickness does not hold the same level of control over them. There is resistance, there is strength, and there is a kind of protection that does not come from medicine alone. For a long time, the idea that belief could influence health was dismissed or treated as secondary. But slowly, researchers have started to uncover connections between the mind and the body that cannot be ignored. The way a person thinks, the level of stress they carry, and the beliefs they hold can all play a role in how the body functions. This does not mean that sickness is an illusion, but it does mean that its power is not absolute, and this is where the shocking truth begins to unfold. The righteous are not simply protected by chance, and they are not immune in the way people assume. Instead, they operate from a different level of awareness and stability, one that changes how sickness affects them. Their mindset creates a kind of barrier, not one that blocks reality, but one that changes how reality impacts them. There are stories and patterns that often go unnoticed, where individuals with strong inner belief systems show resilience that seems almost unusual. They face the same environment, the same risks, yet their outcomes are different. This raises an important question that many people avoid asking. Could it be that sickness does not have equal authority over everyone? Could it be that some people, through their mindset and inner alignment, reduce its influence in ways that others do not? These questions are not just philosophical, they are practical, and they touch on something very real. Because if sickness is not as powerful as it appears, then understanding this truth could change the way people approach their own health and well-being. At the same time, there is a common misunderstanding that needs to be cleared. The idea that the righteous never face sickness at all is not accurate. Challenges can still come, the body can still weaken, and life can still test anyone, but the difference lies in control. Sickness may appear, but it does not take over completely. It does not define the outcome, and it does not decide the final result. There is a level of resistance that comes from within, and that resistance changes everything. It turns fear into calm, panic into patience, and weakness into strength over time. This is not about denying reality, but about understanding it more deeply. This video will break down this hidden idea step by step in a simple and clear way. It will explore why sickness may not have the power people think it does, how belief and inner state influence the body, and why the righteous often experience life differently when it comes to health. It will also uncover lesser-known facts about how fear and stress quietly affect the body every day, and why removing them can make a bigger difference than expected. Most importantly, it will reveal a perspective that can shift the way sickness is viewed entirely, replacing fear with understanding and confusion with clarity. As the video moves forward, each part will connect to a bigger picture, showing how small internal changes can lead to powerful external results. The goal is not just to explain, but to reveal something that stays in the mind even after the video ends. Because once this idea is understood, it becomes difficult to go back to the old way of thinking. And that is exactly why staying until the end matters. The final part will bring everything together in a way that makes the message clear, strong, and impossible to ignore. So if this idea feels new, or even a little surprising, that is exactly the point. There is more to this topic than what is usually discussed, and what is about to be revealed may change the way sickness is seen forever. Stay with this video, keep an open mind, and let each part build on the last. By the end, the answer to why sickness has no real power over the righteous will become much clearer. Welcome to the channel, where deeper truths are explored in simple ways. If this kind of content speaks to you and you want to keep learning ideas that challenge the usual thinking, make sure to subscribe and stay connected for more. There is a belief that almost everyone accepts without even thinking about it, and it sounds simple on the surface, almost obvious, like a rule of life that cannot be questioned, that everyone gets sick at some point and that no one is really safe from it. This idea has been repeated so many times that it feels like a fact, something permanent, something final. But when this belief is observed more closely, small cracks begin to appear. Not everyone experiences sickness in the same way, not everyone reacts the same way, and not everyone is affected with the same intensity. Some people seem to carry a kind of quiet strength, a stability that does not break easily, even when their environment is the same as everyone else. They are exposed to the same risks, the same stress, the same conditions, yet something about them feels different. This difference is not always loud or visible, but it is real. It shows up in how they respond, how they recover, and how they carry themselves through difficult moments. This creates a question that most people ignore because it challenges what they have always believed. If sickness is equal for everyone, then why do outcomes look so different? Why do some people appear protected in ways that are hard to explain? This is where the mystery begins to form, not as something magical or unrealistic, but as something deeper that has not been fully understood. The word righteous is often misunderstood, and this misunderstanding creates confusion right from the beginning. Many people think it refers to someone perfect, someone who never makes mistakes, someone who lives above all problems. But that idea is not accurate, and it pushes the concept too far from reality. Being righteous is not about perfection, and it is not about living without flaws. It is about alignment, about being grounded in something stable, something that does not shake easily when life becomes difficult. It is about having a clear inner direction, a sense of purpose that shapes thoughts, choices, and reactions. This kind of person is not free from challenges, but they approach challenges differently. Their mindset is not controlled by panic, and their decisions are not driven by fear. There is a level of faith involved, but not in a way that feels distant or complicated. It is a simple, steady trust that things are not as chaotic as they appear, and that there is order even in moments that seem uncertain. This trust creates a connection, not just spiritually, but mentally and emotionally as well. It builds a kind of inner environment that is calm instead of chaotic, focused instead of scattered, and this inner environment plays a much bigger role than most people realize. The idea that sickness is only physical is another belief that has been accepted without question, but it does not tell the full story. The body is not separate from the mind, and the mind is not separate from what a person believes deep inside. Stress, fear, and constant worry do not just stay in thoughts, they move into the body and begin to affect it over time. The body reacts to pressure, even when that pressure is not visible from the outside. A person who lives in constant fear is not just thinking differently, they are also functioning differently on a physical level. Their system is under tension, their energy is affected, and their ability to recover becomes weaker. On the other side, someone who operates from peace and trust creates a completely different internal condition. Their body is not under the same level of pressure, their reactions are not driven by panic, and their recovery process is often stronger. This is where the hidden principle starts to become clear. Sickness is not just about what enters the body, it is also about the state in which the body exists, and that state is deeply connected to belief, to emotion, and to mindset. There is a growing understanding that the connection between mind and body is far more powerful than it was once believed to be. The way a person thinks can influence how their body responds to challenges, and this influence is not small or temporary. Fear can weaken the system slowly, creating conditions where problems grow more easily. Peace can strengthen the system, allowing the body to function with more balance and stability. This does not mean that belief alone controls everything, but it does mean that belief plays a role that cannot be ignored. People who live with constant stress often experience more physical issues over time, while those who maintain a calmer and more grounded state often show greater resilience. This pattern has been observed in different situations across different environments, and it continues to point in the same direction. The internal state matters, and it matters more than most people expect. When it is said that sickness has no power over the righteous, it does not mean that sickness never appears in their lives. It does not mean that they are completely untouched by physical challenges or that their bodies never face weakness. That would not reflect reality, and it would create a false expectation. The real meaning is different, and it is much more subtle. It means that sickness does not dominate them, it does not control their identity, and it does not decide their outcome. There is a difference between experiencing something and being controlled by it. The righteous may experience sickness, but they do not surrender to it in the same way. Their mindset resists it, their belief challenges it, and their inner stability prevents it from taking full control. This resistance is not loud or dramatic, but it is consistent. It shows up in their calmness, in their patience, and in their refusal to let fear take over. This is where their strength becomes visible, not as something external, but as something deeply rooted inside. There is also a common misunderstanding that needs to be cleared because it often leads people in the wrong direction. Some believe that being righteous means living a life completely free from sickness, a life where nothing ever goes wrong. When this expectation is not met, it creates doubt and confusion, but this expectation is based on a misunderstanding of what righteousness actually means. It is not about avoiding every challenge, it is about responding to challenges in a different way. It is about maintaining strength even when weakness appears, and holding on to clarity even when situations become uncertain. Sickness may come just like any other challenge in life, but it does not define the final result. It does not decide how the story ends. The difference lies in how it is faced, how it is understood, and how much control it is allowed to have. At the center of all of this, there is a deeper truth that brings everything together. The real power does not come from external conditions, and it does not come from trying to control everything outside. It comes from alignment, from the state of being internally steady and grounded. Faith plays a key role in this, not as something abstract, but as something practical that shapes daily thinking and emotional responses. When faith is strong, fear begins to lose its influence, and when fear loses its influence, one of the strongest environments for sickness begins to weaken. Fear creates tension, and tension affects the body in ways that are not always visible immediately. But over time that tension builds, and it creates conditions where problems can grow. Removing fear does not remove all challenges, but it removes one of the biggest factors that make those challenges stronger. This shift is not something complicated or unreachable. It begins with small changes, simple decisions that affect how thoughts are managed and how reactions are controlled. Guarding thoughts becomes important, not in a restrictive way, but in a mindful way. Allowing constant negativity to take over creates pressure, while choosing calmer and more balanced thinking creates space for stability. Staying grounded in belief, whatever form that belief takes, builds a sense of direction that prevents the mind from becoming scattered. Choosing peace does not mean ignoring reality. It means facing reality without adding unnecessary fear to it. These choices may seem small at first, but they begin to shape the internal environment over time, and as that environment changes, the way the body responds also begins to change. There is a quiet strength in people who live this way, a strength that does not depend on external validation or visible signs. It is not loud, but it is consistent. It does not disappear under pressure, but instead becomes more visible in difficult moments. This strength is not about denying weakness, but about not being controlled by it. It is about standing firm even when situations are uncertain and maintaining clarity even when the path is not clear. This is the kind of strength that changes outcomes, not always instantly, but steadily over time. It is the kind of strength that does not allow sickness to take full control, even when it appears. The idea begins to shift slowly, moving away from the belief that sickness is an unstoppable force and toward a more balanced understanding that includes both physical and internal factors. The focus moves from fear to awareness, from helplessness to responsibility. It becomes clear that while not everything can be controlled, there is more influence than most people realize. This influence starts from within, from the way thoughts are shaped, from the level of belief that is maintained, and from the choice to remain steady even when circumstances are not. And as this understanding grows, the mystery that once seemed confusing begins to make more sense, not as something impossible, but as something that has been there all along, waiting to be seen in a different way. In the end, the idea becomes clear in a way that is hard to ignore. Sickness may still appear, it may still test the body, and it may still create moments of weakness, but it is not the ultimate authority. It does not decide how strong someone remains, and it does not control how the story ends. There is something deeper that stands beyond it, something stronger than fear, stronger than doubt, and stronger than the pressure it tries to create. That strength comes from within, from a steady mind, from grounded belief, and from a calm state that refuses to break even when things feel uncertain. This is where real power exists, not in avoiding every challenge, but in facing them without losing control. Those who stand firm do not deny reality, they understand it differently. They do not let fear grow inside them, and because of that, they remove one of the biggest forces that gives sickness its power. Their strength is not loud, but it is unshaken. Their confidence is not based on perfect conditions, but on a deep sense of stability that stays even when conditions change. And that is what makes the difference. Because when the mind stays strong, when belief stays steady, and when fear is kept under control, sickness loses its ability to dominate. It may come, but it cannot stay in control for long. This is the truth that many people overlook. Power is not always visible, and strength is not always loud, but it is always present in those who choose to hold their ground. And once this truth is understood, it changes everything. It changes how challenges are seen, how fear is handled, and how life is lived moving forward. Because the moment someone realizes that sickness does not have the final say, that moment becomes a turning point. If this message made you think differently or gave you a new perspective, take a second to support the channel. Like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear this, and subscribe for more content that brings simple ideas with powerful meaning. Stay connected, stay strong, and remember this one line clearly: sickness may come, but it does not have the final say over someone who stands firm.